Welcome to the Spark Creativity Teacher Podcast, a podcast for English teachers in search of creative teaching strategies delivered in the amount of time it takes to pick up your dry cleaning or take your dog around the neighborhood. I'm Betsy Potash, and I'm glad to welcome you to episode 13, all about creative first day of school activities. This is the second episode in my Back to School with Creativity mini-series. Be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes so you don't miss the next 3. So what do I mean by creative? Well, it's easy to get caught in the trap of reading your syllabus out loud on the first day. But if you want to start things off with as much engagement as you hope to attain for the rest of the year, this is not your best bet. There are a lot more fun ways to spend your first day than telling your students the list of course expectations and reminding them that they'll need a 3-ring binder. In this episode, I'm going to share 5 of my favorite first day activities with you. The first day activity I want to share with you today is one that surrounds attendance. Attendance can be a real drag. It can be so boring. You stand up there, you repeat all the names, your kids start to drift off and they lose interest. But there's another way of doing it, and I discovered this a few years ago, and I just love doing it this way. I take a little list of questions and I pin them up on the wall right next to my desk, and I ask students a fun question that has a very simple, short possible answer. So I might say, what country would you like to fly to today if you could fly anywhere? And when I call their name, they answer. So instead of saying here, they say India or China or Mexico. And I just get to know a little bit more about them, and they get to know a little bit more about each other. And it's fun. And I usually do it every day for the first 5 or 6 days of school. And then I do it every once in a while after that. And the kids actually request it because it's so much fun. They'll say, can we do the funny questions today? Can we please? And I usually say yes if they get that excited about it. And we just do it now and then. If you have a student that takes forever, you can skip past them and you can come back to them at the end, or you can just say, well, beep, time's up. Next time, just think fast. And I wanted to tell you that I've developed this poster that I use, and I'm happy to share it with you. It's just a free download. So I will put it on the show notes today over at nowsparkcreativity.com. If you click on the podcast tab at the top of the page and then click on episode 13, you'll find today's show notes. And one of the things there will be a link to this printable poster. So if you'd like to do the attendance questions, I think maybe 7,000 or 8,000 teachers have already downloaded the poster, and they've overwhelmingly told me that they think it's really fun and that it adds a nice splash to the beginning of class. So I'd love to share that with you if you want to check it out. All right, the second fun first day activity is a classroom scavenger hunt. I bet you've given quite a bit of time to designing your classroom layout and to deciding what the different elements in your classroom are going to be. And one way you could share those with students is by walking around on the first day and taking them on a little tour and saying, oh, look, here's the writing contest bulletin board, here are the maker materials, here's the costume corner, the outside reading library. But again, that puts you at the center, and that puts them all just sitting at their desk, doing nothing, just moving their eyes around watching you. I think a much more fun way to deal with this in high school, but really at any age, is to do a scavenger hunt. So develop a little handout that has all the different things in your classroom that you want them to know about. So where are they going to find makeup materials? Where can they get art supplies for creative projects? Where are they going to turn in their homework for their section? Anything that you want them to know about. Where are the spare pencils? Where's the Kleenex? Anything. Put it on your scavenger hunt and turn it into a fun first day of school activity. It wouldn't hurt anything to have a little prize or two. Maybe it's just something simple like a get out of homework free card, or maybe it's a fun notebook that they can use as a journal for your class. Whatever. It would be fun to have a couple prizes. First day activity number 3, the sorting. So I think we've all read Harry Potter, or at least seen a movie or two, and we know about the sorting. So in the Harry Potter sorting, a student will sit down, put on the special hat, and the hat will say Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff. But in this version of sorting, it's like a fun getting to know you game. And it's a chance for you to get to know your students and them to get to know each other. And the fact that it links into Harry Potter, the most universally loved book in America, I think, although I do really, really love the new book, The Hate You Give. You should read it. Anyway, that doesn't hurt anything. So what I tell my students is, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do our own little version of the sorting. I'm going to say a statement, and I'm going to tell you where to move based on your reaction to the statement. So for example, go to this side of the room if you love to study English and history. Go over here if you love math and science, and English is a little more of a challenge for you. And they sort themselves, and maybe ask some follow-up questions. On the science side, I might say, what's your favorite science project you've ever done? Or on the English side, I might say, what's your favorite book? Or what's your favorite part of history? And then I go on to the next question. They resort themselves. Go to this side if you're an only child. This side if you have siblings. And I might ask a couple people on the sibling side, like, how many siblings do you have? Are you the oldest or the youngest or in the middle? Just a few follow-up questions. And you can take it as far as you want. You don't have to do any follow-up questions if you don't want to. But it's kind of fun. You can also divide it all the way out into corners. So your room probably has 4 corners. Mine always do. You can say, go toward this corner if you prefer to read fantasy when you're reading for fun. This corner if you love mystery. This corner for love stories. This corner if you would prefer nonfiction above all those. And again, I mean, it's just fun. It's getting to know you, but you can actually learn some important things about your students. If you want to, you can build in there some things that will help you as the teacher. So this side, if you dread creative writing assignments, this side, if you love them. This side, if you dread analytical writing, this side, if analytical writing is your jam. You can start to sort them a little bit in a specific way to your class that will help you begin to get to know them. But you don't have to. You can also just keep the questions fun. Go to this side if you believe in love at first sight. Go to this side if you think there's no such thing. Whatever's fun, whatever suits you and your students, the sorting can be a really great first day activity. Okay, number 4, there's no getting around it. You are going to have to give students your syllabus and your course expectations, and you do want to know that they've read it. So one way to get around kind of reading it out loud to them, or just having 15 minutes of silence where they're all reading and half of them finish before the other half and are just sitting there fidgeting and bored. You can put them in partners and have them read through it and have them star some things. Have them figure out, what do they think is the most important thing on your syllabus? What is the course expectation that really stands out to them? And then open up a wall of your classroom, a chalkboard wall or a whiteboard wall. Put out the markers, put out the chalk, and say, take whatever you think the 1 or 2 most important things are, and do like a doodle, some sort of graffiti, a mural component up on the board with whatever you and your partner think is most important. So all of a sudden, you've got everybody standing up. They're holding the syllabus. They're trying to figure out what they think is the most important part of it, and they're drawing it up in huge purple letters with a picture of it. And the person next to them is drawing it up in green scrawly letters with starbursts around it or whatever. They're trying to make it vivid and memorable, which is exactly what you want and exactly what you probably can't achieve just by reading it out loud to them. No matter what fun fonts you've put it in and how much you vary your vocal tone, you just can't read the syllabus out loud in a way that's going to be super engaging. Unless maybe you rap it. If you know how to rap, go for it. But I think this can make it a lot more fun. If you don't want to do the mural idea, I would still suggest you go through and have them choose the most important parts to them, and then just randomly call in partners and have them say whatever they think is the most important and sort of teach it back to the other people in the room. So right away, you're showing them you think their voice is just as important as yours. You're setting a tone for active learning. And most importantly, you're avoiding that terrible experience, the glaze. You do not want the glaze on the first day of school. You do not want their eyes to dim, their eyes to drift toward the clock. And that's what I really think this activity can help out with. Okay, in some ways, I've saved the best for last. Although I love all these activities, this 5th one is the one that has saved me the most angst over the years. I call it name cards. It's super simple. I always do it, and I would highly recommend it. Basically, you're going to print everybody's names out on cardstock, on the bottom of a piece of cardstock, so that when you print that cardstock, it's going to be a table 10. If it's too much work for you to print it out, just bring the cardstock and have students print their names in really big letters. I do it on the computer because I'm going to use these name tents all year long, and I want them to look really good and be really clear, but it doesn't matter too much either way. So once you give every student their name card, you just ask them to decorate a little bit. Take 5 minutes, have them draw something that represents themselves. So maybe they're the captain of the soccer team and they draw a soccer ball. And maybe they are in student government, so they draw a gavel. And maybe they put on their favorite quote, or they draw a little picture of them with their little sister. Anything, just let them have free reign. Say, please, I want to get to know you better. Just draw, doodle, scrawl, whatever you can around your name that will help me get to know you a little bit better. And then you're going to walk around with your smartphone or a camera, and you're just going to have them hold the name card up in front of their noses, or maybe just a bit below their chins, actually. You want to see their whole face, and you're going to snap a picture. And honestly, this has saved me so much trouble because I just hate the feeling of not knowing my students' names. And if I don't do this, it can take me 2 or 3 weeks to learn them all. Because always in class, I'm trying so hard to focus on engaging them that it's difficult for me to be studying their names. And perhaps you've had the same experience. And so in this way, I take my camera home, I study their names, and I can usually have them down in 1 or 2 days. And for the rest of the year, just such a relief to me. I don't have to worry about offending anybody. I don't have to worry that I'm going to mess it up right when I really think I know it. And so that's very helpful, and I can review them a few more times as the week goes on just to really cement it. The other thing I love about this, and every year I fall back on it, if there comes a point after a few weeks or 6 months or whatever that the students are struggling with their behavior in the seating that they're using, I often let students sit where they want to. But I will pull out those name tents and I will scatter them around the room how I want them every once in a while and say, this is the seating chart for today. It's time to change it up. And they don't usually make a big deal out of that. They just sit where their name tent is, and it's really helpful for me because if I know there are 2 or 3 people that just keep disrupting things, I put them way far away from each other, and I don't have to spend all the time sort of sitting on the computer, drawing up a chart, making copies for every student, getting them to learn it. I just splash those name cards around the room, and it takes me about 30 seconds before the students come in. And that way I can have seating charts in some classes that need it and not in others. Some days we don't need it, some days we do. And it's just actually kind of a lifesaver. So I would really, really recommend this technique of doing name cards. It will take, 5 or 10 minutes of your first class, but usually the students enjoy it. They laugh when you take their picture that it's like a mugshot. But just tell them how much it means to you that you know their names. I think that they really value that, and it means a lot to them when you do know their names right away from the first day. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to check out the show notes for further reading about the first day of school and that free poster with 40 fun attendance questions, just head to www.nowsparkcreativity.com and click on the podcast tab at the top of the page. I'd like to thank those of you who have left such nice reviews on iTunes for this podcast. I thought, in defiance of this being episode 13 and supposedly bad luck, I'd make a request for any of you who are enjoying the podcast to go ahead and leave a review on iTunes. They really mean a lot to me. Thanks so much.